Hi everyone. So today I'm going to be showing you how to wire in the lock slash unlock slash keyless entry for a 2001 Dodge Ram 1500. It should be the same exact procedure for years 98 through 2001, but a very similar procedure for other years. So in this video, it's very shortened. I'm only showing basically how to reverse the polarity to get your locks and unlocks to work through a keyless fob. But if you look on my Handy-Mann channel, which you should subscribe to if you found this video helpful, I do have another video that shows how to wire in the remote start, and that shows the power and the negative and how to do all that. I just wanted to make a much shorter video that shows how to specifically do just the lock and unlock, because it took me a lot of trial and error and research, and I really couldn't find any videos online myself. So I wanted to make one to help everyone else out and show how to do this and save yourself all of the frustration and hassle of doing it. So let's go ahead and get started.
So you're going to need two of these relays. It wasn't very clear online anywhere that I searched about this, but you're going to need two of these unless you already have an aftermarket system put in, because somebody else would have used these. So you need two of them, and their numbers are from, you're going to see later on what they are, but there's two 87s. Sorry, let me get this right side up. Two 87s, you can see there, a 30, an 85, and then an 86. So if you're ordering it online, they are much cheaper. That's kind of what they're going to look like. You can just put in those numbers and relay, and you'll be able to find a site that has these, but you're going to need two of them. You're also going to need another line. Here, you're going to be adding a 30 amp fuse here. And so you need a 30 amp fuse holder to hold it, because you're going to wire that in. You're going to need a bunch of extra wire. And then you're going to need these caps, because the easiest way to do this are these caps are going to go on here, and then you're going to use this extra wire here to wire it all. And I'll show that later on what I'm talking about. So, but be sure that you get all this before you start the project. Okay, so now for the really confusing part where you're going to wire all of this together. So there's a couple ways you can go about it. By the way, that's the part number if you're looking online, except it only pulls up really expensive ones. So just search, 87, 87, 85, 86, 30 relay, and you'll be able to find it, or that in the front picture should look something like that. So there's a couple ways you can do it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use some electrical tape, and I'm going to tape these two together. So I actually taped them together this way. When I was putting these two back to back, these two bottom connectors here, both 87, were way too close to one another. I'm wiring together. I cut 4 similar pieces, so go ahead and do that. And then you need to strip both ends like this, and I'll show you how to connect it into these female disconnects real quick. So with one end stripped like that, you're going to take your connector, and you're just going to feed it in until it feeds through like that. And then you're going to take some clamps, and you're just going to clamp down on it here to crush the metal. And you gotta press pretty hard, otherwise it might slip out. So go ahead and do that. You're going to do that for at least 4 of these connectors like that. Okay, so with those all connected, you'll just wrap them together like this. And from this point, there's a couple of things you can do. For me, what you're going to want to do is connect to that 30 amp resistor that you got. And you need to connect it onto those 4, sorry about that, those 4 that you already have connected. So you can either just wrap them together, you can cap them, or what I'm going to do is I'm going to solder them on. Realized after I set this all up that I probably shouldn't be doing this on a table inside. This should probably be done outside, but I'm comfortable with soldering. So anyways, go ahead and connect those, either solder them or
or cap it together. And if you do solder it, then take some electrical tape and wrap it around it to cover all of the exposed wiring. Okay, so hopefully with this picture I can show you what I did, because in the next scene I kind of show you exactly how I did it, but maybe I can explain it a little better here. And so this is what the purpose of the relay is. So for all Dodges, they have what's called a reverse polarity system, and online it doesn't really explain that very well, but essentially all that means is that the unlock and lock system, both of them need a positive pulse in order to either lock or unlock. But most aftermarket keyless entry systems or remote start systems that are linked with a keyless entry actually send a negative pulse. And so as you can see in this picture, that negative pulse is the trigger that's negative that connects into the 85 pin. But this relay, what it does is it reverses the polarity, and the 12 volt output, it actually sends out a 12 volt positive pulse. And then you can connect that into your lock and unlock system, so that you're reversing the polarity through this relay in order to lock and unlock your system. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And so how you wire it up, you're going to need those 4 wires that I just showed you how to do. 2 of those are going to connect into each fuse. So 2 go, as you can see, the fuse 12 volt goes into the 30 pin and the 86 pin. And then on the other relay, it's going to do the same thing, connect into the 30 pin and the 86 pin. And then let's take, for example, my keyless entry system. The lock wire that sends the negative trigger is actually the blue wire with a black stripe down it. And so that'll connect onto your 85 pin. Your coloring may be a little different from your aftermarket system, but when you're connecting it into the truck's lock wire, it's going to be the same. So that 12 volt output that connects into the top 87 pin, from the sidekick panel, that wiring back there, you'll be able to find a pink wire with a black stripe down it, and that's your lock wire. And so you're going to connect in that 12 volt into your pink/black wire. And so you can either splice it in, or what I did, and it makes it way messy, and you'll see it in the next scene, that I cut the wire and then I capped on some extra wire length so I had more room to work with. And I also did that for a couple of the other wires there because I did a lot of trial and error. So on a lot of wiring schematics, it'll say that the pink/violet wire is part of the lock system, and it may work doing that too, but for me, it's worked on the pink wire with a black stripe in it. And then for the unlock, on my aftermarket system, it's a solid blue wire, and again, that connects into the 85 pin for that negative trigger. And then the 87 12 volt output, which is that 12 volt pulse, connects into the orange wire with a black stripe down it, and that's your unlock wire. And again, I did the same thing where I cut the wire and I added on some extra wiring and capped it and added some of my own wire, so I had way more room to work with it, but it just makes it kind of messy behind that kick panel. So that's why I wanted to take the time to explain this, so that this next scene makes a little more sense on what I'm talking about.
So, it took a lot of work and a lot of trial and error, but I finally figured out how to wire up the lock and unlock for this system. So, this may get a bit confusing because I already did it all, but I just want to explain it all so that you can know how to do it. And literally have spent probably 4 to 6 hours trying a bunch of different combinations and trying to figure this out. So, that's why I do these videos, so that you don't have to spend that time, and so I can show you how to do it. So I guess I should first explain that my truck has and came with the automatic locks, but it didn't come with the keyless entry like this. You know, it had the lock so that you can, lock and unlock it, but it didn't have the keyless entry. So that's super important to know as you're trying to figure this out, because it may be different for you if you have the keyless entry. So here's what I ended up doing. So I had to go to the kick panel and see, I did a bunch of different wires there. But the ones that you are going to end up using is, there is a, let's see, it's going to be pink. I'm sorry, let me find it better. So it's going to be pink and black. You can kind of see it. I'm sorry. It's really hard to get a good angle on all this. This is, again, why it took so long. So pink and black, it's pink there. It has a black stripe on it. You can't see it from this angle. As well as orange and black. See, that's orange and violet. I ended up not using that one. That one's just capped back onto itself. But you can see it. There you go. The orange and black there. So you're going to go ahead and use those. So for the, let's see. We'll start on the lock side. So you're going to need these two relays here. Sorry if this is just kind of all over the place. I just want to explain this all to you. So you're going to start with the two relays. Really doesn't matter which one you use. So you're going to have all of those positives go into, you should have a 30 fuse here. I have 25 because I tried all these different options, and I ended up blowing out the 30, and I didn't have I blew it out twice. So I only had a 25 left, but I'll end up replacing that with a 30. So let's start with that. So you have your four positives that are connecting in here. They're connecting onto, if I can get it to focus, I'm sorry, onto the 30 on both sides. 30, and then it's also connecting to the two inner 85 and 86. So 86 there, and then 85 on the left there. Those are the ones that are connected. So your two 30s here, actually, I'm sorry, it's going to be both 86. So 86 here and 86 here. So those are the four. These here, and then here and here. Those are all connected into your positive, and you need to wire that into a constant positive. I just wired it into my constant positive off of my starter ignition stuff, because that goes into a constant positive that comes off of the steering column. So start with those four. Next, we were going to do the lock side. So according to mine, see, and this is where it gets all confusing. So your blue and your black is actually a negative output from the system. But for it to work on this truck, you need to convert it into a positive output, and that's what these relays are for. So that black and blue wire is going to go onto the center one here, and that's the 85. So that needs to connect on there. And then the very last one that connects on is this back 87 right here that I'm touching with my index finger. That back 87, that one is going to connect in to your orange and black wire up here from the driver's side kick panel. So that is how you wire in the lock. And then for the unlock, it's the same situation where it gives a negative output there for the pure blue wire here. So it's a very similar situation. You already have your positives wired in, and then you're going to wire in that negative output from your system. You're going to wire that in to the 85 on your second relay, and then your 87 back here is going to wire up into here, into the pink and black wire there. I know it just is pink here, it's kind of hard to see, but there is a black strip on it. So go ahead and wire all that in, and when you do that, it'll finally work for you. It's kind of it's pretty weak lock and unlock, but you can see it. It's kind of weak, but it works, and it'll work from a distance as well. So that's how you wire it. You're essentially just converting that negative output from your starter and keyless entry system. You're converting it into a positive output from these relays. So that's how you wire in the lock and unlock on your system. So after you've wired everything in, the next step is to basically take a bunch of, sorry I don't have them with me, a bunch of zip ties, basically like this. You're going to zip tie all the wires together so that they're up and all collected together, and then you're going to zip tie everything up and out of the way so that you're not going to accidentally step on anything or catch any wires, or none of the wires will fall down if you got a four-wheel drive like me, and you're off-roading or anything, and the wires might come down. So make sure you zip tie everything up, and that's the next thing you do. So that is how you wire in the lock and unlock on a 2001 Dodge Ram 1500. Again, this was the version that I didn't come with a factory OEM keyless entry. All I had was the doors switches on my doors, both doors here, to lock and unlock it. So this may be a different wiring if you had the factory keyless entry. But anyways, that's how you wire it for this version that doesn't have the keyless entry. So hopefully this was helpful, and thanks for watching.